So if we want to find the vertex, we need to get it in standard form. And so we need to use our technique to get it in that form. We notice the a value is factored out. And this time our a value is a fraction, so it gets a little bit tricky right at the beginning just because we're dealing with fractions. But the steps are all going to be the same. So I need to factor that 1/2. The minus 1 will still be there. We're going to need a space. But now we have to think, what's going to happen to that 2x if I factor out a 1/5? And sometimes what I do for fraction factoring, for mental math-wise, okay, first of all, I hope you can see that it has to be a plus. And then I think to myself, well, when you factor something out, factoring is the opposite of distributing or multiplying. So it makes sense that this 1/2 times this x squared gives me 1/5, or sorry, 1/5 times the x squared gives me 1/5 x squared. 1/5 times what is 2? And I think if you think this way, you can see what number needs to go there, right? 1/5, or dividing by 5, what number divided by 5 is going to give me 2? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it has to be a 10. But initially, pulling out a 1/5 is hard to see, okay? Mathematically, if you're pulling a 1/5 out of 2, okay, this is asking how many 1/5s would you need to add up until you get to 2, okay? If you want a really real-life example of this, you have a 2-liter bottle of Coke, and you have glasses that hold 1/5 of a liter, which is 200 mils. How many glasses could you fill up, right? Well, one would be 200, another would be 200, another one would be, 5 of them would make a liter, and 10 of them would make all 2 liters. So that is what dividing out a fraction is actually doing. But again, I think for mental math purposes, that would be the easiest thing. And now, our hint is there, and our hint is easier than last time. If that's a plus 10, inside would need to be 1/2 of 10 plus 5. And if it was a plus 5 in the first green space, you would have needed a plus 25. But just like that 1/5 has to hit the x squared, it has to hit the 10x, it would also have to hit the 25. So we haven't actually added 25 in that space. We've actually only added 5. So to compensate, we need to subtract 5. -1 minus 5 gives us -6. So the standard form is really nice because it tells us our vertex is opposite sign here, -5, -6. What is this question asking for? The y-coordinate of the vertex. The y-coordinate of the vertex then is -6. So when we change it to standard form, we get our vertex. And if you have your vertex, can you see that with the 1/5, this one would go over 1 up a 5th, over 1 up 3/5, over 1 up 5/5. And we could graph. So the standard form is really important for finding out characteristics. It's really important if you have to graph. So anytime you want details about your graph, the standard form is really, really nice. Okay, I'm going to give you questions on this one. Number 7.